Want candy? Want candy now?
What's going on, everybody? Nazdarachi back again today, or tonight rather, with another episode of Relic Review. We have a fresh banner in terms of the Fate Calls Power Awakens Final Fantasy IV event. Now, these Relic banners are going to be, especially the first one, primarily focused on Edge and Rubicante. As well, you'll see Paladin Cecil split across both banners, interestingly enough. A new BSB2 form on the first banner, and Legend Materia Relic form on the second. Then you'll have some Kain on the second banner, and a couple of SSBs thrown in the mix as well. You will also have Rosa's USB, which in terms of white magic and healing USBs, is considered to be the very best one in the game because it's on a Wrathable healer, it's instant, and it gives magic blink, which is going to be supremely useful in Magicite dungeons. She'll be able to pump out her USB for the blink, the instant heal, and damage stock. It's a very useful combination of effects. When it first came out, I definitely did not give it the credit that it was due, but now that I've been able to see it in action, I don't personally have it, but now that I've just been able to see it in action and know a little bit more about it, we know how powerful it really is. No other news really. 30 Fest is approaching, so expect a plethora of banners and tons of different little events. We should hopefully get the free 30 draw with one guaranteed OSB that Japan got. I'm really crossing my fingers and hoping for that. But that's about all for news. We have a new Relic banner, so let's dive right in here. Now, the first item on the banner is the beginning of a new meta for ninjas. Edge here is going to see an incredible boost in his team viability, and if you have his Legend Materia, the new ninja abilities, and this USB right here, he's going to be pretty good. Still some challenges related to him, but we're looking at the Kiku Ichimonji. It's a 174, 94 magic, and no other stat katana. It's interesting that it's got magic on it. That is for the ninja side of him there. And unfortunately, only a synergy bonus, so you won't see that water damage across all realms. You have the Chaotic Moon, Ultra Soul Break. Physical, water, and lightning attacks to 10 random targets. Temporarily cause the user's water attacks to reduce the delay of the user's actions for 1 turn. And temporarily cause the user's ninja abilities to trigger Lurking Shadow, dealing physical, water, lightning, and non-elemental damage to 1 target. If the user has Mirror Image, Lurking Shadow can trigger up to 2 times, once per stack of Mirror Image. So we have a lot of complicated effects going on here, but once you kind of reduce it down to what's basically going on, it's not too terrible. Basically, Edge is well known to have a heavy blink mechanic going on with him, and now he's got a special blink that can stack up to 2 times, similarly to the blink that we've seen on Sephiroth's BSB2. So he'll have those blinks when the USB is active, and it does not give him a blink by itself, so you will have to get them from elsewhere. He will be able to trigger those extra damage abilities and make good use of his skill set. Now, again, the new ninja abilities, and I believe his Super Soul Break, and a couple other ways for him to get blink, but he's going to be a really good character if you are able to manage all this. Now, I have heard from some JP players that it is very difficult, similarly to Noctis's Armiger mode. It is rather difficult to pay attention to this and keep everything active while managing all your other characters and just the battle time in general. So with that in mind, I would preferably myself want to delay and make more investment towards Shadow on the Final Fantasy VI banner. And that's about all there is to it. I do like this sword. I would recommend it. There's a lot of other good stuff on the banner. I am going to make 1 draw, probably only the 1 draw, and see what I get. This would be an interesting item to have for sure. And great stats for a katana as well. It'll benefit Sephiroth as well, because Sephiroth can use black magic. Next up, we have the USB that I had mentioned in the beginning of the video. Rosa's Fairy Bow. No bonus effects, 83 attack, 34 magic, and 168 mind, so definitely the healing aspect here. I mean, that's to be expected with Rosa. You have the USB Benediction. Instantly restore a large amount of HP to all allies. Automatically heal damage they take, so 2k damage stock. and enable the 1 magic blink. And it's effective against most spells. Pretty much says that for every blink in the game. So we kind of covered it in the beginning of the video again. It's an amazing USB. You have the instant, which is always extremely useful. The fact that Rosa can use Wrath is also one of the reasons why this is the best. But just the instant heal, extra health, and magic blink, extremely useful combination. It can only be contested by maybe Last Stand on something like Yuna's USB, but she's just a better character. And with all these really good effects and the fact that her character is just kind of better for the purpose of healing, it's just really not beatable at this current point in the game. And I would honestly, if I could get anything off the banner, Rosa's USB and maybe this BSB2 right here would probably be the relics I would want. So we do have Cecil's BSB2 here. It's another Apocalypse sword. Like we haven't seen enough of those already. Like Zach has one. I know definitely off the top of my head. 140 attack and no other stats. And again, only a synergy bonus, unfortunately. There are plenty of other holy swords in the game that you'll probably swap him to once you have this mastered, that are going to be 6-star relics or just higher stats, better synergy. So it's not too much of a loss here, but we do have the Radiant Burst BSB, 8 physical holy non-elemental attacks to 1 target, temporarily raise the user's defense a very large amount, and attract single target physical and black magic attacks to the user, and haste burst mode. You have Paladin's Charge, 3 to 5 physical holy non-elemental attacks to 1 target, deals more attacks depending on the number of attacks the user has taken, so it scales every time he gets hit basically. And Light Slash, 4 physical holy non-elemental attacks to 1 target, and temporarily raise the user's resistance a large amount. So right off the top of my head, we see off this Burst Command 2 here, it's got a key piece that many of these taunt style BSB entries have. So none of them usually have a resistance buff, but they do attract black magic. Paladin Cecil will be able to counter that, and as well his USB gives him ridiculous survivability. So with all that in mind, if you have him well built, this is just going to add to his ability to function with the team. You definitely won't have to equip Draw Fire on him. Not that I would typically recommend using that even if you didn't have this, but it just ups his versatility. It makes him a better character. The modifier on Paladin's Charge is not one of the best, but Paladin Cecil is not a top-end DPS character. He is kind of a hybrid. So with that being said, he should be able to take damage pretty quickly once you activate this, and hopefully it scales up relatively fast. I haven't drawn it or seen it in action quite yet, so I don't know how many attacks. I haven't looked it up yet either. All in all, I already have Paladin Cecil's OSB, and that's pretty much it for him, so I would definitely not mind pulling this. I would not be upset if even if I 111'd it, I would not be upset in the slightest. Next up here, we have another item that I'm actually quite interested in. I know long-term Rubicante is not one of the greatest mages or characters in the game, really, but I still like him a lot, and his mechanics interest me. They've kind of taken the Summon Strike mechanic and tweaked it a little bit to fit right on top of the personality or traits of Rubicante from Final Fantasy IV. So I was really happy about that. You got the 17 magic, 115 defense resistance, and 17 mind. It's pretty typical for light armors we've seen in the game before, so nothing out of the ordinary. You have the small boost to fire damage always in effect. That is pretty good. With it being a magic boosting fire plus, you will be able to put this on Terra and Vivi. Quite a few other characters could probably make good use of it if you're using a Chain Firaga spell, for example. But Terra and Vivi off the top of my head would really benefit from this. The other two benefits kind of again play on Rubicante's character. Unfortunately, they are synergy only, but I can understand why, because this relic would be really OP if it had all 3 of those constantly active. But you get minor ice, minor water resistance. Again, that just kind of plays on Rubicante's character. If you've played 4, you'll understand why. But it's just kind of how he works in the game. He's got those immunities when he's got his cloak up and stuff. So you have the Burst Soulbreak, True Flame Inferno, 6 magic fire non-elemental attacks to all targets. Temporarily infuse the user with the power of fire and haste burst mode to the user. Fairly standard entry right here. Usually we see 8 attacks, but we only have 6 on this one. It's because it's an AoE. Generally with the AoE ones you will see a lower attack count. The damage multiplier on it will suffer a little bit because of that as well, but it's still functional. It's kind of average in terms of an entry. The uniqueness comes in these burst abilities here. You have the Avatar of Flame. Grant the user a magic barrier and fire cloak. If the user already has Fire Cloak, deal 4 magic fire non-elemental attacks to one target and remove Fire Cloak from the user. Fire Cloak gives the user a moderate chance to counter physical attacks with a group magic fire and non-elemental attack. So you get the magic barrier and you get the basically summon strike mark, but this is where it's been tweaked because it really fits to his character here. Just like we've seen for Yuna, for Tenets of the Faith, and other summon strike soul breaks like Golbez as well. Once you use the first command, which is what you're going to want to do, you'll just spam out the second command probably 2 or 3 times, just depending on how much time you have before the burst mode runs out, and then you'll finish up with the first command again. Now basically he will get that magic barrier, and the physical attack countering is really unique to his character. It's just kind of why I really like this. But it is only physical attacks he's countering, and again, like long term, he's not the most reliable DPS mage or really ultra useful for your A team. It's just a cool character. Like, they're making him much more appealing than a character like Rufus, for example, who I have no desire to use whatsoever. So I honestly wouldn't be upset if I saw this one either here. I know some of my friends pulled and got that one, so kudos to you. I probably use Rubicante on and off, just situational dependent. Next up we have a Burst Soul Break for Edge. It is very, very old. 132 attack, 71 magic, no other stats, no bonus effects. Seething Waters, 8 physical water, non-elemental attacks to one target. Infuse the user with the power of water and grant haste burst mode to the user. You have Water Barrage, 4 physical water, non-elemental attacks to one target. Reduce delay before hitting. And Raging Seas, 2 physical water non-elemental attacks to all targets, reduce delay before hitting. So this was a generation even before we saw bargains and stuff like that being thrown onto the burst abilities. It is pretty good. It plays on his ninja role and he gets that reduced delay, so it is competent for DPS. However, Edge's stats aren't absurdly insane, so I wouldn't ever really expect too much damage from him just in terms of spamming these burst commands. You'll want to play on using the abilities that grant Blink and his USB and other tools for Edge and ninjas that will be able to make him much more functional. So I do like this. It does play with his USB a little bit because it does have that water modifier on the EX mode. So it is still functional for sure. I'm not knocking it at all. And another item that I really wouldn't mind pulling whatsoever. This banner is pretty attractive for me. They definitely want me to blow my resources before the festival starts so I can spend a whole bunch more money, which we'll see how that rolls out. Anyway, good BSB, just kind of dated at this point. If you're filling out Edge's repertoire, you'll definitely want that one. And it, like I said, does play on his water functionality. So, would not mind seeing that one at all. Got Legend Materia for Rosa here. Again, like many other Legend Materias, it's just got stats all over the place for whoever might be wearing it for synergy. And just kind of to help her out a little bit too. It's not really super functional to make a character better, but I think they generally expect you to master these and then equip to something else, unless maybe it's got a bonus effect you're using or if it's in a synergy situation. So increase the user's mind up to a moderate amount, proportional to the number of white magic abilities the user has used. This is kind of useful and kind of not at the same time. The scaling buffs, while they can be useful, you have to imagine with Rosa that you're going to be wrathing a lot. That doesn't really contribute to this modifier right here. So it will play when she is healing and using, that side of her character. But if you do spend a lot of time wrathing with her, you're not going to see a quick ramping up of this effect right here. So it is something, like I said, just to add to her repertoire. I'm not sure what her record dive is looking like and whether it's worth it or not. So this might not be a necessary relic. And honestly, I think the second LMR in the banner is better. We're about to check that one out now. Again, something that is 100% functional, but just definitely not as good as if we'd seen maybe a double cast or even some other modifier that maybe plays on her ability to wrath also. So next up here, we do have Edge's Cloak, light armor, 17 attack, 116 defense resistance. Pretty standard stats for light armor here. Legend materia with a small boost to water damage in Final Fantasy IV only. It's kind of curious, but it will be useful for very specific events when you might want to re-equip this after mastering it. You do have the Eblon's Legacy, small chance to gain mirror image, enabling the user to avoid one physical attack after using a ninja ability. So basically this is going to perfectly play into his USB. It's actually going to increase the chances significantly that Edge is going to be a much more functional character, because you're going to be using this Legend Materia Relic and a mixture of the ninja abilities that were just added that give him this mirror image as well. So this will be extremely helpful if you are going for an Edge USB build. Not 100% necessary. Like I said, you can get the mirror image from the abilities, but you'll definitely want this. It's going to make your life a lot easier trying to maintain the 2 blinks to get all the bonus damage possible and not fall out of that blink mode there. So very good LMR. Would definitely prefer this one to Rosa's, only if you're really considering using Edge on your team. Overall, Rosa is probably still a more functional character than Edge, but they serve such a widely different role that it's kind of hard to compare them. We have a Super Soul Break for Rubicante next. Rubicante's Grasp, Fist Weapon, 89 attack, 134 magic, and no other stats. Again with a small boost to fire damage, so you can double equip both of his relics for a nice boost to your fire damage. So it is a fairly good relic, and I could definitely use some plus fire damage, so I'm hoping that I have a little bit of good luck, but honestly off this banner I don't really have very many relics at all, so it's pretty low dupe chance. I'll probably be satisfied kind of whatever happens. But we have the Fire Exemplar. Fire magic non-elemental attacks to 8 random targets and temporarily lower their fire resistance. The highlight of this one is definitely the lowering of the fire resistance. That Fire Imperil is pretty rare in the game, especially for me. I know I don't have a Fire Imperil right now, but again, bringing Rubicante might not always be an option or kind of beneficially serve your team. It's kind of just a fan favorite character almost. Even still, I wouldn't mind pulling it. Like I said, I'd be happy with almost anything on this banner, except for this. I have plenty of this already. We got the Red Jacket, light armor, Super Soul Break for Edge, 17 attack, 113 defense resistance, so fairly low stats for light armor. Small boost to fire damage. Again, this is light armor, a lot of people can use that, but it is a physical inclined item, so you're going to have to keep that in mind. It's not going to benefit your mages quite nearly as much as Rubicante's Cloak would. Otherwise, characters like Sabin would make great use of this. A couple others as well. A lot of monk characters like Aloof would probably be able to use this if you needed them to. You do have the Super Soul Break, Eblon Doppelganger. It's pretty popular Super Soul Break. It was very heavily used in the Nemesis battle the first time it came around. I know I had it on my Roaming Warrior and it got quite a few uses. But instantly blur the image of all allies, enabling them to avoid one physical attack and grant them last stand and haste. It is a very technical item, but it's got really good boosts, especially if you're in a physical situation. But you get the haste, the last stand, and you do get that one physical blink as well. If you're in a jump start, you may be able to get away with just recasting something like this, or Rajan's Super Soul Break, for example, to be able to just power through the dungeon with no healer whatsoever. So definitely a good item. It's seen a lot of heavy usage, and it's one of the reasons why Edge has been even on anyone's teams or Roaming Warriors up until now, when he's got some better options finally. Next up here we have Super Soul Break Genesis Rock. It's the Golbez Cloak for Golbez here. Light armor, same stats as Edge's light armor, but magic instead, with a synergy only boost to dark damage, so it loses that constantly active effect. And we do have the Genesis Rock, 6 magic dark attacks to all targets and temporarily infuse the user with the power of dark. Not super good, but kind of like Zan for Fujin. This is a spellcaster who uses dark very heavily. I'm pretty sure he does not get a End Dark from his BSB because it's got a lot of buffing and tank related effects going on with it. So you will have to consider casting this if you want that End Dark form. Currently, limited viability, but you still may want it for that damage boost, you know. The N elements definitely help a lot if you're in a situation where you're up against that weakness. So, not going to completely knock it. I love Golbez, actually. I really like his BSB, but I've missed it a couple of times now. Next up, we have the Soul Harp. It is an instrument for Edward, character that I really do not like, but in Final Fantasy Record Keeper, he's actually really good. 114 attack, 68 magic, 38 mind, no bonus effects, and the Super Soul Break Soul Song. Reduce the offensive magic casting time of all allies for 3 turns, and temporarily raise their magic and mind a moderate amount. This is really a mage team item all the way here. There's no reason to bring Edward or use this particular Super Soul Break anyway if you're running physical meta. Honestly, it is really good for the mage meta. It does feature the exact same buff that you'd see on Mog's BSB entry, so it won't stack with something quite like that, but there's a lot of other things that this buff does stack with, and the 3 turns of cast reduction is quite functional. I believe we have that on Braska's Super Soul Break as well, and a couple other ones, and when you need that effect, it definitely comes in handy. I would hopefully not get that item and not see anything for Edward right now or well into the foreseeable future. Now, I do have enough resources to make 1 pull, but let's start off with the 100 gem draw here just to see what happens. You know, curious. I did pull Gogo's SSB previously, so probably gonna reset on what we see here, but you never know. Yep, no, it's just 3-star. Kind of expected that. Like I said, I did get that plus water defense Go-Go Super Soul Break on my last 100 gem pull. I really would only like to avoid Edward. But I don't want to jinx myself too hard here, so let's roll the dice and see what happens. 1 time. 1 magic time. Let's see what Dina has in store for me here. This fine evening. Come on, Dr. Mog. Oh, Lord have mercy. Only a 1 out of 11. So, it had to come sooner or later. With all the ridiculous luck and the pulls that I have been getting, it's just kind of, it's been a little interesting recently, for sure. And we got Hedge's LMR. Okay. Well, I don't have his USB. I only have his SSB. So, by itself, this draw is... I don't know. It's a little painful, but like I said, I've had some pretty good luck recently, and I'm going to toss this one onto Edge, get it mastered up, and we'll see what happens in the future. If you only get this 111 like I did, and you don't have anything else for Edge, it's definitely not worth pulling them out for just that. But I think I'll save all the rest of my resources for maybe a better luck pull for Shadow on the Final Fantasy VI event. I do have a lot of the highlights for Kain on the 2nd banner already, so I don't really think I need to go too crazy there, but we'll see what happens. In the meantime, I hope you guys did enjoy the episode, and if you did, toss me a like down below. It super helps me out, and I definitely appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing so I can hopefully see you again on future videos, and if you smash that little bell icon, you'll get notified every time I upload something. And if you did any pulls on this banner, feel free to comment down below. Let me know what you got or what you're saving for. Most likely the 30 Fest will probably be some of the responses I'm expecting to get, and it's definitely a solid plan. So they always throw Final Fantasy VI in with a Fest, so it complicates things for me, because that's my favorite right there. Anyways, guys, I hope you do have a good morning or evening, depending on what side of the planet you're on. This is Nazdarachi, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace out, y'all. Have a good one.